Hello, my name is Benjamin Hart. I'm an American attorney and the Managing Director of Integrity Legal here in Bangkok, Thailand. In this video today, we're going to be talking about specifically the K-1 fiancé visa, and specifically in the context of it being sought through the U.S. Embassy in Yangon, Myanmar. Some things to keep in mind, generally speaking, with respect to the K-1 are the following. American citizens may petition for their foreign fiancé, in this case Burmese national from Myanmar, to go ahead and travel to the United States with the express intention of marrying that individual and adjusting status to lawful permanent residence in the USA. Just sort of from a logistical standpoint, the way to look at this process is thus. The case begins at Department of Homeland Security in the United States, their U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Service section. It then proceeds over to the Department of State, and then finally ends up at the U.S. Embassy in Yangon under the auspices of the Department of State, the Immigrant Visa Unit over there. Basically, when petitioning for a K-1, some things to keep in mind are that the couple needs to have physically met in person within 2 years of the petition for the fiancé visa benefit. There are certain exceptions to this rule, but by and large, and in the vast majority of cases, this requirement is going to need to be met in order to petition for this type of benefit. The other thing to keep in mind is that the parties need to be legally free to marry, so they have to be legally unmarried, be that divorced or single, whatever, or widowed. In the context specifically of Myanmar, and I'm not going to get too deep into Myanmar family law, but there are circumstances in which, shall we say, non-sort of civil registration of marriages can still create a binding marriage in that jurisdiction. So for that reason, those who are interested in these issues should really think about contacting a legal professional that at least has some working knowledge of how local Myanmar law works, especially with respect to marriage. Because issues involving K-1 fiancé visas and marriage, or the issue of was a marriage locally created legally, that can be a real issue. So it's pretty well recommended to contact somebody who has some dealings with these matters. I've dealt with cases in Myanmar in the past. I have cases currently that are dealing with nationals of Myanmar, although not right now processing through Myanmar. The other thing is there are a lot of Myanmar nationals who are living and working in Thailand, and depending on their legal status in Thailand, they may be possible for the Immigrant Visa Unit here in Bangkok to go ahead and accept jurisdiction over some of those cases. Depends on circumstance again, and that's something that should be taken away from this video. Is all immigration matters are very circumstantially dependent, and they're very dependent on the unique facts of the given case at hand. So let's go ahead and assume approval of the Department of Homeland Security. What happens next? The case is then going to go to the National Visa Center, which acts as a sort of routing hub to go ahead and send the case onward to the post over in Myanmar. At that point, the Immigrant Visa Unit is going to go ahead and process the matter. Sort of interesting to bring up a good point on this is K-1 visas are considered what are called dual intent visas. And they're interesting insofar as they're technically a non-immigrant visa. They only allow non-immigrant status for 90 days presence in the United States, but for all intents and purposes, they're treated much the same way as an immigrant visa would be processed, because there is this underlying immigrant intent that has yet to kick in, because again, you have 90 days in the United States to go ahead and get married and file for adjustment of status. Adjustment of status, there's another video specific to that on this channel, which discusses adjustment directly. Basically, that's the process by which a fiancé goes ahead and applies to adjust his or her status to lawful permanent residence, aka green card holder in the United States. To sum up the overall issue we're dealing with here, these cases start in the United States, they're routed over to the embassy in Myanmar, at which point there's going to be a visa interview, etc. Various medical exams are going to be required. And some things like this. We assist with all of these matters, even though we're based in Bangkok. I do travel from time to time over to Yangon to deal with some of these things on the ground if necessary. And basically, you go ahead and process the matter through the embassy there, and assuming approval, Again, you have a window of opportunity to use the underlying K-1 before it expires, and then once arriving in the United States, you have 90 days to go ahead and use it, 90 days to go ahead and get married to your American citizen fiance and go ahead and apply for adjustment of status to lawful permanent residence.